So, Threads came out today, and I'm sure you haven't heard an absolute thing about it or seen any screenshots of anyone sharing their thread count number, whatever it's called. But to not so subtly flex, I am number 12,000 and something, so early adopter. But yeah, Threads came out today, which was essentially Meta's answer to Twitter, as especially Twitter's in some dicey waters with the whole rate limiting stuff that's happening. That launched today, and I think as of the time of this recording, there was like at least 6.3 million. I'm not really sure what the total amount was or is currently, but the numbers are just continually going up. So ever since Elon essentially bought Twitter and it's become this really not weird space, it's basically been the same space. It's just kind of shifted in tone a little bit. Everyone has wondered who is going to be able to kind of take over as Twitter burns itself to the ground. I mean, in the initial purchasing, there was like this whole sweep with Mastodon, with Hive. There was like one or two other ones as well in terms of who could potentially replace it, but no one was really able to get there. And realistically, I don't really blame him. All these kind of new other, social media platforms that had potential to do it didn't really have that baseline level of user base, accessibility, or even just functionality to it. And lately there's been a couple more, and just before Thread, I feel like there was quite a few people getting into Blue Sky. But now that essentially Thread sits within the whole metaverse of social media platforms, they have a really great baseline for user base and functionality and essentially all the issues that all their competitors had before. And while everyone's, down that whole discussion of rip Twitter, will this do it? Will Thread win? Whatever. I kind of think Threads, in a way, has already won because even just on the foundation of just the user base they have. Because from a UX design perspective, and for those of you that have actually signed up, you would know this, to sign up for Thread using your Instagram is legitimately 2 to 3 clicks. It's log in with your account. Do you want to import all your account settings from Instagram? It's who do you want to follow, which manually lets you select if you want to, selectively follow people who already follow Instagram or just follow everyone whenever they sign up. And then you're right into it. It's really, really easy to get into the ecosystem. And then the feed itself, the algorithm just pushes content in your face, which I know some people like, I know some people don't like. But really, if you're just sitting there, and I've seen people's screen times and it's already gotten up to like 5 hours point, which it only came out today. Yeah, just refreshing your algorithm, just getting fed new content keeps people on the platform. I know people are asking for follower only mode and chronological order, but if your screen time for your app is that high, you're not necessarily doing anything wrong. The other benefit is as well, which is one of Twitter's downfalls, that they don't really make money, so they need to push ad and promoted content and sponsored content. Since Thread kind of leverages off all the existing money and foundations within Instagram and Facebook, you don't really have any paid content within there at launch. Eventually, for sure, there will be some sort of paid content and sponsored content, pushing posts in the algorithm and all that kind of stuff because they do have to make money. But at least for day one and building that user base and getting the user base consistent across the board, that kind of icky kind of algorithm feed doesn't really exist. And while there are these competitors, and I'm really going to only talk about Hive and Blue Sky because I have a limited use time within those and experience within those, they don't really stand a chance, I think. I mean, Blue Sky, first of all, is invite only. So as much as I say those are the two I kind of have use for, Blue Sky, I don't have access to. So there's already a restricted user base because it is invite only. Or like through referral code and stuff. And then with Hive, at least from my experience, you need to follow people to see their content within your feed, and then searching by hashtag doesn't really exist. So at least with discoverability on Hive, it's a bit difficult to know how to find people. I think it's an unpopular opinion when I say this, but I kind of prefer the algorithm feeding you through some content as well. Of course, prioritizing those you follow, but then, filling in the gaps or putting some space in between of accounts you don't follow and accounts it recommends. But, Hive, I didn't really enjoy that side of things. And at least, from scrolling through Thread and I think the hour I spent on it throughout the day, you're just constantly seeing new stuff. And I mean, we're talking about it in the office today that, you know, there was quite a lot of people that didn't really necessarily use Twitter beforehand and they didn't really know what Threads was. But I feel like the more the algorithm showed them content, the quicker they were to understand what it was. It's Twitter without the images, or even with the images in certain posts. It's a whole bunch of shit posting. It's, you know, a whole bunch of people making puns about threads for day one. But they really kind of got into it, and it made that type of content that much more accessible to, you know, those traditional Instagram user base. And I am talking about this completely off the cuff, so I'm not sure if I'm rambling of what I've said actually makes sense, because I do kind of want to try and edit this now and get this up today before I go out for dinner. But yeah, just to kind of recap, I think that Threads could kill Twitter. I think it could do it. And in a weird way, you're going from Elon Musk to Zuck, which is a whole other discussion because, you know, they're both evil in a certain degree. But in terms of just the ability that Threads has been able to have in day one of completely growing their user base, having a really good feed of showing you new content, and then, you know, having great accessibility, great user interface, great design in general. Speaking of great design, I absolutely bloody love how you pull down and then the @ symbol, the way it moves around while you're refreshing it. Oh, chef kiss of UI design. But for all those reasons and more, I'm pretty confident that, yeah, they could kind of put Twitter in the grave. And while there are functionalities that Twitter has that, you know, Threads doesn't yet have, for example, you know, sponsored content, which unfortunately has to be the crux of any social media platform. You don't pay for the platform, so they need to make money somehow. That's not in there yet. I don't think hashtags actually work yet, which is really weird. Follower, you know, like a follower feed and chronological feed, that they could very easily plug in. That's something they plugged into Instagram. So for day one, they've got these really good foundations and there is this room to scale. Whereas some other platforms are either trying to do everything right from day one, but then, you know, have that really small restricted user base to slowly grow it out that way, or they're kind of letting the floodgate open like Hive and then, you know, trying to slowly roll out functionality. But I guess throughout the power of Meta and all their resources they have, Thread can kind of do both to a degree. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, I don't want to ramble and talk around in circles too much because that's not needed. But, you know, do leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I would be very interested to know what other people think of Thread, you know, the first impressions and everything like that. But that's pretty much it from me. It's been me, Drew. Stay safe, stay healthy, make good decisions, treat people with kindness, and I'll see you next time.